Gonna go for two here.
He's going for two.
If you don't make this, you lose. If you make it, you're in a position to win.
Caught him! One-handed catch as he goes up and gets it.
That's just a heck of a play.
Gonna go for two here. Go for two here.
Caught him! One-handed catch as he goes up and gets it.
Gonna go for two here. Go for two here. If you don't make this, you lose. If you make it, you're in a position to win. Gonna go for two here. Go for two here.
Caught him! One-handed catch as he goes up and gets it.
Go for two here. If you don't make this, you lose. If you make it, you're in a position to win. Gonna go for two here.
He's going for two.
If you don't make this, you lose. If you make it, you're in a position to win.
Caught him! One-handed catch as he goes up and gets it.
That's just a heck of a play.
Gonna go for two here. Go for two here.
Caught him! One-handed catch as he goes up and gets it.
Go for two here.
Okay, we are live, counting down to probably the worst Thursday night football game that we've had all year. But luckily for you guys, we don't mind talking about it. We have a bet to share for you with the game from our friends over at CoolBet. We're also going to announce our Super Boost, which this one has to hit because I got to tell you, we've been getting way too close. I'm not sure my heart can take any more, boys. But how do you motivate yourself to watch the game tonight, guys? How you feeling? No Baker, no Kareem Hunt, no Chubb.
Well, I mean, you got OBJ coming back. I know Landry was activated, but is he playing tonight? I don't know if that's been announced or not.
Well, the actives and actives are out, but I know OBJ is active. I haven't seen if they actually if they gave him a hat or not.
And the other another thing that I'm excited to see is, you know what? I haven't watched a Broncos game all year. I'll be honest. I do like watching Von Miller play. That guy's still a freak athlete, right? Freak player, and he's going to have a good. He's going to have a difficult time going against Jack Conklin, a former Titan. He learned all he knows down in Tennessee. So
he literally said he was going to kill somebody today. I don't think you're allowed to say that anymore.
That's what I mean. Like, that sounds like something you hear out of like the 80s or like a Lawrence Taylor type quote, right? It's not something you hear. And Von Miller, like when I picture Von Miller, I picture like, you know, like the sharp dressed, nerdy looking linebacker guy with like the nerdy glasses. This guy's out there talking about killing people.
When you're referring to Lawrence Taylor, is that before or after the halftime snack?
It would be after the halftime snack.
Okay, just checking.
Yeah. But that's how
when Ray Lewis tried to pull that stuff, he got himself in trouble. So
allegedly,
Chad,
it was never confirmed.
Yeah, I don't know. Ask Reggie Wayne about it. But yeah, so we got Case Keenum starting for the Browns.
Yeah.
Obviously, the original line on Sunday was Browns -7. And then when a couple people looked like it was going to be hurt, it went to Browns -3.5. Now it's at Browns -1.5 after the news of Baker breaking. Like Baker not playing breaking. Should that not be worth more than 2 points? Your starting quarterback is out?
No. Because the offense doesn't run through Baker. That offense runs through the two running backs who are already said they were out. So I don't think it actually changes anything. If anything, Baker not being in almost makes the game a bit more exciting for guys who have Odell on their fantasy team because there's finally a quarterback who can push the ball down the field. They don't have to focus on a play-action game, and Odell can be used to his proper skill set. That's the way I look at it. Casey Keenum's going to take his shots. He's very similar to Ryan Fitzpatrick in that way. Like, what you see is what you get. I'm going to throw the ball over the place. I'm going to be reckless. And so, yeah, I think that's what people should be looking forward to tonight. That's either going to be one of those games where Case Keenum goes out there, throws like 300 yards, 3 touchdowns, but he might also throw 3 picks. You have a button in you can Jameis Winston this whole thing if he wants to.
Yeah.
I think, like, I mean, if they had their, like, when you say they haven't had the chance to, they don't put it through Baker. I think they did put it through Baker, but like with the injuries to like those receiving core, I don't think they've kind of had to fall back. And why wouldn't you when you have 2 running backs that have over 500 yards apiece? I think they're at now, right? Is that what it is? Or 400 and 500 or something? Like, it's ridiculous,
yeah,
whatever they have. But to have that there, why wouldn't you lean on it? Especially, you got that offensive line. and in today's NFL, I got into a bit of a debate on a thread earlier this week, and it was talking about Derrick Henry and if he's effective or not still. And I feel like in today's NFL, because the passing game has become such a prominent part of the offense, and most of these players, like these linebackers, are smaller than they were in the linebackers in the 70s were like 260, 270 pounds. I mean, how much Devin Bush? I can't. I think he's probably around 240, right? He's smaller or a little bit smaller than Derrick Henry. So, if you're going up against linebackers that are that small, the corners are only going to be that much smaller. And there's a lot of sub packages that are out on the field now. So, and I talked about this last year, I think, when we were talking about the podcast about how these running offenses can take advantage of that. And the Browns are going to be able to do that. Case Keenum isn't going to have to do a lot tonight. I don't know if he's going to be able to play or if he's going to have to play next week or not. What's the story on Chubb and Hunt? I know Hunt is actually 3 weeks, right? IR?
Yeah, and it seems like they're ruling out Chubb pretty early in the week, so that would lead you to believe that they're not ready. If you want my opinion on what's happening, I think that Baker and Chubb were held out of this game because they know that they're playing the Steelers next week.
Oh, okay.
I do agree. I was reading a bunch of things. I was listening to a bunch of different podcasts this week too, leading into tonight, because I knew we were going to talk about this game. And with no help in the backfield, they did not want to risk anything happening to Baker. Which is weird because, like, when you're already 3-3 and you're still not, like, you're in last place in your division, I don't think conceding a game is the right approach. Like, if you lose this game, now you're 3-4. There's no way this does anything for you.
Right.
And now you're below 500. Like, if your quarterback wants to play, which he was begging to play, is what everybody's saying, and you're not doing it, and you come out and lose, what does that look like to the rest of your locker room? Like, you literally just were like, no, our quarterback could go. He wanted to go, but we're going to choose to sit him instead. That doesn't make any sense.
No, I agree. And, Kaylin referenced the offensive line for a second there. We're going to find out pretty quickly what kind of offensive line this really is without guys like Hunt and Chubb in the backfield, because Dearness Johnson is taking the bulk of the carries tonight, if you believe fantasy reports. And okay, so Jack Conklin's not playing tonight. I just saw that on the bottom of the thing. So
so I thought there was still a chance he was playing, and it was pretty much announced after they thought he was.
Yeah.
So then it's going to be a no name that I guess Von Miller will go up against today.
Yeah, so you're looking at, you don't have your left tackle, you don't have your quarterback, you don't have either one of your top two rushers. Your defense has been exposed 2 weeks in a row. If you were to pump up a Browns fan right now, what are you telling them? What can you tell a Browns fan right now?
I'll play the devil's advocate on this one then. 2 weeks ago, you played arguably one of the best teams in the NFL, for sure in the AFC, and you played a quarterback who hasn't been stopped by anybody this year, in Justin Herbert.
Except for Baltimore, yeah.
Okay, except for Baltimore.
Yeah.
And then last week you played the best team in the NFL, right? Like, hands down, right? And you lost, as you mentioned, that you had offensive line issues. You didn't have Nick Chubb going into the game. It's okay to take a loss like that to the Cardinals, the 6-0 Cardinals, when you don't have all of your firepower there. It's a game that you can certainly learn from. That's what I'm going to tell the Browns fans. It's still a long season, guys. Still got 11 games after, 10 after tonight, right? 9 after tonight with the bye.
Here's the thing that makes me sick about the Browns. So they have to be everyone's preseason favorite to win the Super Bowl because, of course, Baker Mayfield's on every commercial's mind when the season starts. They have a great run game. Now, I do think that if those two guys aren't the top two running backs in the league, it might be the guys in Arizona, like I said last week. So let's just say they're the best running tandem. Their O-line isn't bad, but their defense is so bad. And to a Browns fan, like, oh, yeah, we're the preseason. Yeah, we beat the Steelers in a playoff game. Give us the Super Bowl next year. And then you roll out to the season, and you kind of get off to, like, you're playing Kansas City, who doesn't look good. So you lost to a bad Kansas City team, and you've lost a couple games in a row now. At a certain point, can we just stop making excuses for this coaching staff and realize that they're not as good as they think that they are? But I don't think that's debatable. Kevin Stefanski was in the running, or maybe he was coach of the year last year.
He
right?
was coach of the year.
Yeah, like you see this year's team. Does that look like the coach of the year's calling the plays? I don't think
No.
so, man. This guy is not ready to take the next step as the head coach. He doesn't have them. He doesn't have them ready to play, and we'll see what. I mean, they have Case Keenum, who's won a playoff game before. They have Dearness Johnson, who I only heard of when I went to the waiver wire on Tuesday. I'm sure that he's gotten a couple carries. I haven't seen a Cleveland game all year, so I'm kind of looking forward to this one for that purpose. But if I was a Browns fan, I'm a little bit worried because I don't think that this team is very good.
Well, one thing that's held them back this year, I saw the stat today. I don't know the exact percentage, but I know that they're in the top 5 for dropped passes. Like that's mental mistakes. That doesn't. That's probably got to infuriate the coaches the most, right? You have these skill positions that you only have one job to catch the friggin' ball, and if you're dropping catchable passes, that's just gonna like hurt your offense that much more. They don't need any help hurting the offense, right? So
Okay, so
and that's something that's really hard to coach away either. At the same time, that's just mental mistakes on the player. I'm not trying to make excuses for the Browns, but that is something that I could see as a coach.
But you
like,
are.
What do I do? What do I do here?
You are. So I'm going to reference last year for a second, and we all know who led the league in drops last year. Deontay Johnson of the Steelers. Now, every time this guy drops a ball, we are absolutely burying him. And by we, I mean ESPN says the Steelers don't have a chance. Ben Roethlisberger's losing his steam. Blah, 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 blah. But the Browns drops. Baker Mayfield needs more help. Odell Beckham isn't a good enough receiver for him. Like, give me a break.
Well, yeah, but you're talking about one guy, Deontay. We're talking about as a team. But as a team, though, they're in the top 5% top 5 in drop passes. You were referencing one player. Could you imagine how frustrating it would be if you saw all of your receivers across the board making those mistakes? Right on top of the inaccuracy things or the inaccurate throws that we're going to see Baker do from time to time because he's good for one or two a drive, right?
Here to catch the ball and it hits your fingertip, that goes to a drop on the receiver, right, Chad? And
no, it doesn't. It doesn't. That's not a stat. That's not how that stat is calculated, though. So I'm saying a drop pass, it's got to be. It's a certain target window that it has to go into for that stat to be calculated like that. That would be considered.
That is subjective. It's decided on by whoever the hometown scoring is.
Sure, it could be subjective, but if we even swing them 2%, they still drop to still in the top 10. So even at that, I mean, that's what I'm saying. You're frustrated. You talk about burying Deontay Johnson. I've only watched a couple of Browns games, and I haven't watched all of them and all thoroughly. But watching some of those drops happen, it's frustrating. And again, you can't coach that away. Like, what do? You
tell the Browns they suck. Chad, get on my level here.
I was letting you guys just go out. I was going to enjoy myself here. Usually it's me getting on the rants and getting heated this early in the show, so I was letting you guys have it.
Do you guys want me to give you the cool bet opening drive bet?
Can I go on my rant about the Browns dropping footballs yet? Am I allowed to have my piece here?
Yeah, let me give you the bet and then you can go on your thing because Liam's gonna get mad at me if I don't recognize our sponsors. So tonight you go to our friends at Cool Bet. Of course, you use the Going for 2 code. You go to Bet Builder. What you're looking for is the Broncos plus 3.5, the game total under 42.5, and each team to kick a field goal. That happens. That's plus 310. Now it's Chad's turn.
Wow. I've treated XY better than this. I'm just going to say that.
Well, it's because you're good at it. Yes, that's so many. Professional.
Yeah. Well, it comes back to the drops. It's this simple. Drop them.
Yeah,
we're horrible people. I don't even know why people watch us. Yeah, it's as a quarterback, it's frustrating, as Kaylin's saying. I understand your point about how guys get roasted left, right, and center. But at the end of the day, I don't care what team you play for. When you're getting paid that kind of money to catch a football and you're dropping it, it's actually embarrassing that the Browns aren't being ridiculed as bad as they should be. If you're in that percentile of the league dropping footballs and your quarterback's putting in places where he should be, Baker does not have the greatest arm. We've all said it numerous times over and over again. But he is an accurate passer inside his window. That's what he's known for, play action and being an accurate passer inside his zone. Unfortunately, I don't think a lot of his receivers go to his benefits. He's getting one back tonight with Jarvis, which is a huge help for him, which unfortunately is not there. But yeah, if these guys aren't catching the ball, then you're not going to move the chains, and that's a big chunk of why you're 3-3. And yeah, I do believe that you guys start pointing fingers, whether it's the head coach or receiver coach, your offensive coordinator. What are you doing wrong that's not moving the ball and moving the chains and not sustaining drives? You can't depend on running the football every single time. Eventually, you guys are going to load the box and you have to make plays.
Unless you're Derrick Henry.
Unless you're Derrick Henry.
Well, and we are going to.
And we all know how that. Yeah, we're going to know how that works on the playoffs, Kaylin.
Yeah.
Divisional rounds.
I think if it came down to it, and I had the first overall pick in dodgeball, I'd probably Baker Mayfield because all he does is load up and chuck it as hard as he can. But that doesn't really translate to playing NFL quarterback. And I do think that the Browns are going to lose tonight, and I think it's the Broncos. The Broncos need a get right game, and their defense is better. I think, I don't know. I don't see any scenario where the Browns win tonight. So unless you guys disagree, we might as well move on to Monday Night Football.
It's too difficult. There's just too many things missing. Your right tackle, your two running backs, not 100% OBJ, who's still working through an injury. First game back for Jarvis Landry. And David Njoku is going to have a hell of a game. That's
good. I just picked him up in fantasy, so that's good.
Yeah.
I mean, he's there. He's going to catch a couple passes. But yeah, let's talk about this Titans game because I know you've been gloating a little bit about it, and we definitely thought that the Bills were going to crush them, and I think that the Bills would have won the game if Josh Allen wore cleats to play quarterback, but he doesn't apparently.
You know what's crazy about that stop? Between that offensive lineman and Josh Allen.
Is that what we're calling it? We're calling that a stop?
Dude, it was like he hit the fucking banana in fucking Mario Kart. That's what happened. He stepped on a banana peel out there.
Wow,
he literally took a ball and fell on his face. I will say, he is 1 million times the athlete that Tom Brady is. Tom Brady does not get stuffed on fucking 1 yard sneaks.
It's the same stuff. They got stuffed earlier in the game. The exact same play. But anyway, 580 pounds Jeff Simmons had there. That's a hell of a fucking lineman, man. Just stopping 580 pounds coming out. And you know where it's going, too. He knew where it was going to be. Man, that stop was amazing. What more could you guys ask for in a game, though? Forget me being a Titans fan, guys. You must have enjoyed that game, too, right? Back and forth.
Great game, yeah.
And I will do some gloating, guys, because we didn't have Christian Fulton. We lost Caleb Fairley in the second quarter. We were running with Breon Borders. Chris Jackson got hurt in the third quarter, so we're running Breon Borders. We were down to our fourth-string corner out there covering the wide receivers. And, yeah, there were some plays that were, missed. But they did an all-right job for four stringers out there. It was really nice to have Amani Hooker back. And the offensive line didn't give up a sack, guys. So what I was going into that game, I said they rotated linemen all damn day, and they were going to get probably 6 sacks that game, I thought. To not give up one, it was amazing. So
yeah, and I mean, the Titans definitely played well, but at some point we're gonna have to come to the realization that that wasn't a stop, and he slipped.
It's nice that we can talk about it without having the clip in front of us, but maybe you guys only watched it during the game, but obviously I've rewatched it a few times. Maybe
I watched it numerous times because that motherfucker cost me a fantasy win.
Maybe he slipped off his first footing, but he certainly leaned into Jeff Simmons and got pushed back.
So he slipped and went to his knee would have been on the ground before he would have even had a chance to push forward. But it doesn't matter. The Titans did enough to keep him out of the end zone to even make that a fourth down. And I'll give them credit for that. And they were a little bit better than I thought they were going to be. I'll definitely admit that. I didn't think that watching Tannehill this year, that was the best I've seen him play.
Well, and what was wild is they just held out Julio the whole second half. Essentially, they just held him out. He had the hamstring issue again, kind of, right? But they just held. AJ was going to town. Thank God he was there for that. And what a warrior the guy is. AJ still hasn't practiced 2 times this week. He hasn't practiced. He tweeted out an hour ago that he hasn't anything he's eaten. He hasn't been able to hold down still. He lost 8 pounds going into that game from being sick. So. And second half, guys. I mean, that's when you're going to be at your most tired, probably. Maybe get an IV or something.
It's a good thing you had a real receiver on the other side to hold off the double coverage, right?
I just said he wasn't playing the whole second half.
Oh, okay.
Who was that? Who was that other receiver they kept feeding? Because there was another guy there that I never heard of him.
Nichols Aina, and then the other guy they had is Marcus Johnson, who has been around the league a few times. But that Nichols Aina guy is he's third. He's like our Hunter Renfrow. He's usually really, really good on the third down, and he's a really possession receiver. You're not going to get anything flashy out of the guy, but he's a Justin Gage type player. If you remember him from back in Chicago days.
Yeah, and the tight end looked like he played well overall. I mean, Derrick Henry took over the game, but
Oh,
for Tannehill, I thought he was like starting the season, he was a dark horse MVP candidate, and he hasn't played like it. But he actually, I thought that he played pretty well against Buffalo. Buffalo's defense is pretty good.
mm-hmm.
For him to be able to kind of, it seemed like they schemed open AJ Brown pretty quickly. Every time that they put him that tight to the line, there was no one within 5 yards from him.
Well, he didn't get his first catch until the second half. So like
Well, that's
he
what I
just
mean. They schemed him open in the
they
second.
had
half.
to, yeah. They had like it was weird. Like they just sit in Julio, and then AJ suddenly becomes an open player once Julio goes down. It's crazy how that worked out. But yeah, like Derek, you mentioned Derrick Henry taking over. That run, 6'4", 247 pounds. Like how do you run that fast? You have almost 22 miles an hour. These corners look like they were like miles behind him, and these are track athletes out there. Levi Wallace is no slouch as far as speed.
I would not want to get in front of that dude at all. But for Chad, like you've been in locker rooms as a coach, Chad. So like, how do you even come up with that scheme going into the halftime? What would you have had to see to know that every time you bring AJ Brown that close to the line, he can cut across the middle wide open?
Well, I think the big thing is when you have a weapon like Henry and you're bringing him into the box, you're bringing another body into the box, right? So
Yeah.
now automatically the box gets more condensed. Because whether you're playing zone or man, even if he's playing zone, he's still bumping in. He's not staying out on the island by himself. And you're bringing more people into that clusterfuck. Whether you're giving the ball to Derrick Henry or you're not, every single person on that defense is respecting the fact that Derrick Henry is a good chance he's getting that ball.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're a DB, your first step is forward. And at that point,
Right.
Brown's gone. It's that simple. And then if you're bringing him across the chaos, now you have to track across the chaos. And if you're playing man-to-man, good luck. You're going to get caught. And once again, if you're playing zone, are you going to see him coming across the chaos? Because you're looking into the backfield. Because there's a guy named Derrick Henry who can run over anybody, and as you found out, was running at Olympic track speed.
Fastest
Yeah.
ball carrier of the year so far.
Unreal.
So it's obviously they saw something. They had an idea, or that was the game plan going in. They already knew going in there, but they didn't want to show it too early, so they could not scheme against it.
Yeah, very well could have been. Now,
Either way, it was done properly, and hats off to the guys there in Tennessee and Derrick Henry, which I can't believe he's a plus 2,000 for an MVP right now. So I definitely have threw a couple bucks on that guy. I don't think he's going to win, but I think it's how do you not put
value's
a
too good,
couple
yeah.
bucks on that? Yeah, the value's too, like I remember seeing Dak at plus 1,200 beginning of the season. I was like, man, that's a pretty good turnaround. But plus 2,000, that's a game changer right there. You throw a couple $100 on that.
And we all know, like, for a running back to win the MVP, one of these quarterbacks is going to have to get hurt or shit the bed down the stretch. Because at this point, like you and Kaylin, this is going to be hard to hear, but he's probably fifth, right, in MVP voting if it ended today.
so name your top four. I'm interested to hear that because I saw some really good arguments on some forums.
Well, I would say that I'm either giving it to Tom Brady, Kyler Murray, Matt Stafford, or I guess Justin Herbert. I think Justin Herbert would get it over Derrick Henry.
I mean,
Before
I
the
gotta-
game, I probably would have said Josh Allen only because the offense runs through him, but I think that that's starting to work against them in certain situations. When you have an aggressive defensive team, like, yeah, they struggled against Pittsburgh and they struggled against Tennessee, and the teams that they've beaten. That we signed Buffalo up for the AFC Championship game pretty early on, but the teams that they've beaten are not they are not perennial winning teams.
who was the AP was the last running back to win it, right?
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah, something like that.
Trying to
It
think.
was a long
You're
time
right.
ago.
You are right. I mean, it the only way that I think Henry can really get into the discussion there is if he like breaks records like as far as like touchdown totals this year, right?
Sorry,
Something
there was
like-
another one I just thought of that I forgot. Dak Prescott.
Yeah, I was wondering why there was him. So there's him on the list, and then there's one other one. And you guys are gonna when I saw it initially on this guy's list, I thought, what the hell is this? But then I looked into the numbers. Kirk Cousins, man. Unfortunately, he's on a bad team or a team that's not doing well win-loss wise. His numbers this year are ridiculous. They really are. And he's being bailed out a little bit by Jefferson because the kid catches anything that is thrown at him. But Kirk Cousins has got great numbers this year. And he's in a contract year, is he not?
He always.
I think that's just a
46
Tuesday
is
for his agent.
It's like this is his last year of his 46 fully guaranteed million or whatever a year. But yeah, that's another name that I was like, at first I was like, no way, I hate Kirk. No, not happening. I know Shane, you like him because he's an MSU guy, but he's really balling this year, man.
Yeah, I mean he's averaging over 300 yards a game for passing. But yeah, I mean, so make the case then, or I don't know if Chad has any other guys that you'd put ahead of him.
Well, for me, it was Kyler, obviously. Tom Brady could be 1A, 1B right now. I don't think anybody thought what Tom Brady could do at 44 years old is what he's doing.
Right.
Dak I had up there, and then Matt Stafford. Like, those were my four. And then Derrick Henry's doing it, and I think the only way he wins, unfortunately, which is, it's crazy, he needs 2025.
So there's breaking news on here. I think that's the
only way.
Breaking news for Mayfield is he has a fractured humerus bone in addition to his torn labrum. So he's not playing next week.
That's tough. And it's a tough kid if he wanted to play. It's the same, but silly.
It's his non-throwing arm, right? So it's more or less.
Yeah.
I wonder how far they let him go.
I saw that come across from Jay Glazer, and I was like, okay, well, we should probably talk about that.
Well, we have Jay Glazer on his cell phone over here, so.
Yeah.
So we got our own Jay Glazer on his cell phone.
Yeah, he's getting his reports in. But yeah, so back to MVP, like what you were talking about.
Yeah, I just think the only way right now Derrick Henry can win, which is super unfortunate, is he has to get 25 touchdowns and he has to have 2,000 yards, which is absolutely absurd by a running back, especially in today's pass-happy game. I don't know if he's on pace to run it, but I think that's his only chance with the way these guys are putting out passing numbers. Be on a winning team and have that kind of action. And I think unfortunately for him, it's just you can't I don't think it's the fact that he can't do it, but it's the other five guys, not one of them doing something very similar on their own end.
No, we've only ever been football fans for the 16-game season. Before there was a 14-game season, whatever, it doesn't really matter. But now that there's a 17th game, what expectation do you have of a running back? Like we're saying 2,000 yards, but 2,000 yards hasn't done it in the past. So do you have to get maybe 2,500 yards to be the MVP as a running back?
Well, 133 yards a game is in the 16-game season. I do know that from when I used to play Madden 24/7. My goal every year as a running back was to get 2,000 yards. So I know it's 133 yards a game.
Okay, so 2,200 yards is basically going to be your benchmark?
Give or take, yeah. But yeah, I just don't know how it's going to play out and how you're going to make that happen. And 2,000 yards in 17 games isn't an easy task.
No, not at all.
So he's on pace to beat that record. He's on pace to come close to beating the record, but he's on pace to beating his total from last year. But there's another one that he is on pace to beat as well, and that is scrimmage yards in a season. Currently, Chris Johnson holds that. Tennessee's just got the best running backs, I swear to God, the franchise. But he's on pace to beat that one too. And that's what I'm saying. If he starts knocking some records down.
What about Dyson trying to stretch into the end zone?
You shut the fuck up. Why do we got to bring up sad times? We can't just have a happy time with Chris Johnson. But yeah, if he knocks down the scrimmage yardage, if he knocks down the rushing yardage, if he gets the touchdown record potentially in the season, which he's right now on pace for as well, I mean, he certainly can get into the conversation. And I think that's where you can say, where am I going to play devil's advocate? Why does a running back deserve over a quarterback? A quarterback has to lean on the wide receivers. He has to have that talent around him in order to get those numbers. This running back, and Derrick Henry is leading the league in getting hit in the backfield too. So to have a guy who's leading the league in hits in the backfield, but is also leading the league in rushing, and effectively because of being hit in the backfield so many times, he is actually at his yards after contact is ahead of the next leading rusher, the regular yardage, and that's Nick Chubb. I think we kind of have to slide it a little bit here. This guy's doing everything on his own. Like that's a quarterback again. Tom Brady, we saw that he had to lean on a defense when he didn't have the receivers in New England. Now he's having a lot of friggin' fun down in Tampa Bay. But Derek hasn't had that support, I don't think, right now this year specifically with the offensive line. Those two stats stand out to me. if he knocks down the other records, I think that you have to consider it. And it's an outlier year. I mean, it was 2013 or whatever when AP won it, 2014. It's been 7 years. It's okay to have that happen again.
We'll give out participation ribbons for MVP, I guess, to Kaylin.
Yeah, to me, there's too many.
It's okay
good,
if it happens.
There's too many good quarterbacks, and the stats are so overblown now that it's going to be so difficult. Like, he's really going to have to jump off the map. And all those things you're saying, like, that might do it. But if Dak Prescott has 55 touchdown passes and Tom Brady has 60 touchdown passes, like,
his 25 doesn't look as good.
Yeah.
Which is ridiculous if you think about that.
Yeah.
And that's what I mean. That's exactly it. It does suck. Some of those touchdown passes, little 1 yard dunks, which I guess the same thing could happen to Derek. A lot of them could be those 1 yard dunks, but it's still friggin' hard to get 1 yard in than just to toss it off the Gronk.
Yeah.
No, he does a quarterback sneak properly. That's the difference. He keeps it himself. Like a real man.
Yeah. So Monday Night Football was awesome. We usually don't talk about Monday Night Football after it's over because by the time we get on here, it's been 3 days. But there's another big thing that's coming down the pipe here with the trade. What's going on?
I want to say one thing though. Yeah, it's one because we're gonna walk off of Buffalo here. Just because finally, like, not guys don't often watch the Titans play, and I said going to that game, the Titans just they always either play up or play down to their competition. And you guys are talking about scheming it and everything. It was just one more example where we played up to our competition, and next week we're gonna play the Chiefs and maybe do it again, and then we're gonna start playing some bad teams and fall apart. So
perfect.
That's the spirit.
Well, yeah. I mean, if we're talking about a team that's potentially going to have the first overall pick, we're going to talk about the Dolphins here for a second because it seems like they're getting themselves back in the news here in this Deshaun Watson sweepstakes. Now, first of all, if you know that you're potentially going to have the first overall pick, are you making a trade for Deshaun Watson right now? I don't think he's going to play. And, like, you know, we've talked a million times about there's more serious stuff than football, but we're only idiots that talk about football. So we're not going to talk about the serious side of what's going on here. We're just going to talk about what could actually happen in football. But yeah, so if you're the general manager of the Dolphins, are you making this deal?
No. You don't know what you're getting back in return. All of his off-field stuff has not been sorted out. And as much as, like, we're all in agreement, I think that Tua is not the guy. They kind of fucked up on that one. There isn't a quarterback in the first round, I think, worth taking first overall. But they have a lot of problems that they could address. And if that's the case, if there's someone that wants that pick, it makes more sense to trade down 3 spots and pick at 4 and gain first-round talent, which they've done lately anyways, opposed to making that splash and going to get a quarterback if you don't know if he's ever going to play again.
Right.
Or he's also been out for a year, which also changes a lot of things.
Yeah. I read a report that the Eagles, when the Eagles were interested, and there was a lot of conversation about that. And then today, I think it was either Schefter, one of the big guys, tweeted out that the Eagles even sent down, like, their legal team to talk to Deshaun's legal team to find out what was going on with the court case and everything. And Deshaun said for them to go home. He had no interest in going to the Eagles. Now, I'm not here to play devil's advocate about whether or not he did what's going to happen there, but maybe he knows something that we don't know. How do you have the power to tell a team, go home? I don't even want to play for you. When you're in the position
they booed
that
Santa. What are they going to do to a guy like Deshaun Watson?
You're right. You're right. But it's a guy. But you're saying I would last 2 days ago, last week, 2 months ago, I probably would have thought he may never play again. But for him to tell a team to go away, maybe he does know something that this is coming to an end somehow, right?
Yeah, I would imagine that there's more information that's being broadcasted, even though, like, it's so hard to keep a secret nowadays with the way that these guys broadcast stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
Now, does this help Miami though? Does this do it? Like, guys, we're talking about a team. Well, I talked about a team last year that I really liked what I saw on the field. They were really coming a long way. We thought that maybe they were going to have the ability to kind of maybe take this division a little bit, maybe battle with the Bills from here on out. They fell off, and they didn't really lose anybody, right? They didn't drastic losses.
It's the same stuff. I mean, the Dolphins and the Browns find themselves in a similar position where they continue to chase the new coach. They want a new culture instead of just sticking with somebody and finding the right fit. I mean, look at the teams that are successful. Andy Reid. No matter where he goes, he's successful because he's a good coach. Bill Belichick built New England from the ground up. Mike Tomlin in Pittsburgh. He inherited a really good team and still went through a roster shuffle and kept that team relevant the entire 15 years he's been there. Like, these are teams that are coaches that build around and make sure that the guys around them are paying attention to them. They never lose the ear of the guys. And the second they do, they ship those guys out of town. I think that there was something to be said about this Xavier Howard thing and how he wanted out of town. And the owner caved. And the owner gave him exactly what he wanted. When you do that, you're completely de-weaponizing your coach. And I'm just going to assume, not being somebody in the locker room, just knowing sports culture, that they are giving up on Flores the way that all these players continue to give up on coaches with no resume.
It's a shame.
Would you imagine someone doing that in Tennessee? To Vabro? Not a chance.
No, yeah,
No,
I know no one's doing it to
Vrabel's
BA.
great example. Yeah,
Not a
great
chance. Not a chance. Someone's doing that to Bruce Arians. That guy's been coach of the year in 2 different places.
Yeah.
There's certain guys who command respect, and a guy like, and if you're gonna walk all over your coach and then you cry to your GM and your owner and get what you want, and dismiss your coach, yeah, the whole locker room sees that, and that respect is gone. They won't play for him.
Speaking of Bruce Arians and talking about coaching philosophies, did you see his quote today about Byron Leftwich?
Not here. He said no.
He said he gets way too much credit for the offense and how it's run. He says, I don't even go up to team meetings anymore. Byron runs that thing from the top down. I don't do anything anymore at all. He's like, I'm just there. I'm the coach, but he's running everything. It was just really neat to see him. He was kind of, talking about, and it's scary for him to do that because Byron's going to get looked at this offseason for a head coaching position, no doubt.
Bruce is the oldest coach in the NFL.
Well, I know, and that's where maybe he's.
You haven't thought about that. I know he's the cool
Yeah.
uncle. That's what he wants to be known as, the cool uncle.
Yeah.
But I think Byron's taken over. That's already been discussed on our end. That's the big rumor. I don't think it even is a rumor anymore in Tampa. Tom Brady loves him. Tom Brady's not going to go anywhere by the looks of it anytime soon. And him and Byron are attached to the hip, so I think Byron is the next guy. And I think if this season does end the way that it's supposed to, I think BA might finally just call it a day.
Yeah, and you know what? With Bruce, the way he talks and how he's out there and everything like that, I think at this point it gets very rare that a head coach who's known for an offense to be the offensive guy. And everybody knows that Byron Leftwich has done a lot for the Tampa Bay since he's been there, but it was still Bruce's team, we thought. If Bruce is coming out and saying these things and kind of like undercutting himself, I think you're right. I think he's going to let the world know, hey man, this has been Byron's jive since he got here. And I'm just kind of the guy that's overseeing it more or less. And this is what you could have had, but now I get to retire and he gets to take over the helm of this ship. So good for him.
100%.
Yeah.
Good pun too. Taking over the helm of the ship. But yeah, like going back to like the coaching culture, it comes down to the owners are not giving the coaches the right leeway to develop the team that they want. And maybe that's because of people like, Bill O'Brien who abused it and completely they had too much power.
Mm-hmm.
But for Brian Flores, I think that we can all agree he seems like a likable guy. He seems like the kind of guy that you'd want to play for, but something is not connecting. And that's why I was drawing the parallel to the Browns, because whatever Stefanski said last year is not translating this year. And it doesn't mean that it won't. I mean, it took Cliff Kingsbury, 4 years to kind of get Arizona where he wants to be.
And Arizona stuck with him. That was the difference.
Yeah. But you want to find guys like, like Sean McDermott. If you're the Dolphins owner, I'm walking up to that guy with like Gruden money and being like, can I even say that name? I don't even know if I can. With, like $20 million a year. I don't care. We'll pay our quarterback $20 million. We're going to pay our coach $20 million because you're the kind of guy that turns the team around. If the players don't
with Jared Goff.
Yeah. But that's where it's going. That's why I think the Lions are going to be in okay shape, because Dan Campbell is going to make sure that the guys that he wants there are going to be there. Flores doesn't seem like he's been given that chance. And you can't tell me a guy that's hung around with Bill Belichick for that long wanted Tua to be his quarterback. I don't believe it. Not buying it.
I don't know. Might have been that Saban connection. Might have gotten his ear a little bit.
Man, Nick Saban probably didn't even want that guy.
Well, he did have to. He did pull him, right? Did this same closer stuff not happen in Alabama? Was he not pulled in a couple of games?
It was Jalen, then it was Tua, and then Matt came in.
But
They had a pretty good run.
Didn't Jalen come in during a big game, or was Tua that came in for
No,
Jalen the big game?
Tua came in
Yeah,
for
Tua
Jalen.
came
Oh, okay, gotcha.
But then
Gotcha.
Jalen came in the following year when Tua shit the bed and won the game in
And
the
won the-
SEC
that's right.
championship.
That's right.
So he returned the
exactly.
favor.
I think that's a great segue into college football, then, eh?
Yeah, well, I guess I'm gonna ask one more question because we were kind of talking about Deshaun Watson there, and then we got sidetracked. But
yep.
What they're asking for right now, if the offer stands the same, is 3 1s, 2 2s, and a player. Now
3 1s, 2
2
2s
2s, and a,
for Deshaun Watson.
mm,
No, I'm good.
I'm gonna say that if it's a player, you're counting Tua as one of the first round picks.
Mm-mm.
I would assume so.
You're saying no?
No, it's already. It came out. Schefter already reported that Tua has never been involved and will never be involved with Houston. Houston has no interest in him. He's been more linked. The Tua has been linked to Denver. If this trade goes down, the Tua may be shipped out to Denver. You know the player that I think that comes back from Miami? Howard. Xavier Howard, man. They're already talking about, like, internally, I've heard rumors about him, like them wanting to trade him out of there. He's already disgruntled with the way the organization's going. Even after getting paid, get rid of the guy then. And he's a great trade chip. And well, Houston doesn't have a heck of a lot over there as far as corners go, or defense in general. So,
all right. Well, yeah. I mean, I'm going to assume that he's got some kind of no trade clause, so he can't go to Houston. But and we're not going to beat this down. But the question I would have is, let's say the Bucs have their first round pick. Are you taking the Bucs first round pick, giving them Xavier Howard, and then turning that extra first round pick and say offer 2 first round for Watson? If you're getting potentially the first overall pick, and if we're saying the Bucs are the Super Bowl favorite, which I don't know if they are, but would you say giving up the first overall pick and the 32nd overall pick in the same draft with a second round pick maybe like next year or something, is that a good enough package for Watson?
I feel
I wouldn't give up. I wouldn't give up that much for him, but that's just
I'm trying to get you Xavier Howard, Chad. Doing what I can for
I
you.
don't want to. Yeah, we had a disgruntled corner from Miami once called Brent Grimes, and his wife went off.
yeah.
We don't need another one.
What was her name? Kiko, I think.
Yeah,
but
shocking how she was crazy with a name like Kiko.
My worry if Deshaun went to Miami, not Miami that we saw last year, but Miami that we're seeing this year, it's almost the exact same team as Houston. Like, yeah, Deshaun's gonna be able to pull you out a few wins here and there. He's still gonna get sacked a lot. He's maybe gonna have, he's got Jalen Waddle there that he can, or Waddle, sorry, that he could throw up to just like DeAndre Hopkins or Will Fuller. So he's got his speedster. But then the defense again has just been completely questionable this year. Right? So I just feel like it's almost the same for him. It's like a sidestep to go to Miami, and it's good. Now they're going to undercut themselves if they go 2 first-round picks like that too. They need to build. They need defense at this point.
Yeah. Well, I mean, seems like they bring guys in and cut them or trade them away.
Yeah.
Fitzpatrick trade was awesome. They traded us Fitzpatrick for what turned out to be like a offensive lineman that is like a middle of the pack kind of O lineman. So anyway,
well, they went and signed Kyle Van Noy for a bunch of money in the offseason and then cut him after paying a bunch of guaranteed, and he went right back home to New England. So
That doesn't seem like Bill's involved in that at all.
Yeah. I mean, the trade deadline's on November 2nd, so we probably got a couple more shows in between, but it seems like things are heating up and that they think it's going to get done this week. But yeah, college football. I mean, it's been a pretty wild season. We teased our picks on Monday, then we dropped the article. Some pretty good feedback. I mean, lots of losers from Michigan that don't think the playoffs are relevant. Lots of losers from Iowa that felt like they said we didn't have the expectation to win the national championship, so it didn't hurt as much as you think. Like, I don't even know how to respond to that. But
we tried.
Yeah,
we tried.
They were a number 2 team that went down. The week before that, the number 1 team went down. Who do you guys think is most at risk of losing their playoff contention? this week?
It's gonna pain me to say. I think it's Notre Dame.
You think you're gonna see?
I think it's us. We got USC this week. Big rival game. We haven't played them in a couple years. We haven't been playing our best ball. We don't have a number one quarterback yet. We don't know who's taking the snaps. I think there's just so many red flags that could come up, and I think this could be the one that it's the second loss. I was worried about us having 2 losses. I was really hoping it was going to be USC. I called the Cincinnati game. But yeah, I think this could be it. I think this knocks us out completely, and then I think we're only hoping for a New Year's 6 at best. I think this is the straw that does it.
And with
Well-
2 losses, they're going to be in pretty tough shape.
Yeah.
Like even for a New Year's 6, like the namesake is gonna hold them. But it'll kick the door open for some teams that maybe haven't had the opportunity to be there recently.
I'm thinking, and this is going to hurt the drama that we want to see here in the last game of the season, but biggest at risk this weekend could be Oklahoma State, man. They have a really solid chance at losing against Iowa State. Iowa State's a really powerful team. This is kind of like a mini trap. It's weird to call Iowa State a trap team, but in this situation, I think that they are. And I think Oklahoma could certainly lose this game, and that would just about do it for them.
And yeah, I mean, the fact that their coach is going to be a little bit more dialed in there now that he's kind of linked to LSU. He's got to put a little bit of a resume together, and scoring points and beating a team like Oklahoma State, that makes sense. For me, I'm going to say Oregon. I'm going to put Oregon on. And what's sickening about it is they're the number 10 team. They're playing UCLA, and they're actually the underdogs. Yeah, they're actually the underdogs. Oregon on the road. I don't know what happened to Oregon. They looked really, really good against Ohio State, and things have kind of fallen apart since. That loss to Stanford obviously hurt. They're a bubble team at best for a playoff contention. A lot would have to go in their favor for it to happen, but I think that that's going to get nixed right now, and it's going to be UCLA that takes them down. And the Pac-12 once again is going to miss a chance at being in the playoff.
Yeah, it's difficult to hear. I mean, Oregon, like, you weren't hyped on them at the start of the season. They started very, very hot. You almost seemed to get on that train a little bit too. You were liking what they were putting on the field, but Chip Kelly's turned that program around, and it's hard to win in UCLA. It's a really tough stadium to win in. So that's a good choice.
UCLA for me has been my most profitable college team. Every time I bet on them, they seem to get me a little return on investment. So that's a good one. It doesn't seem like any of the debate. I guess the one that Kaylin mentioned, Oklahoma State being at number 8, they're probably the biggest team on upset alert. And I think, and I could be wrong, is Iowa State not favored in that game?
Let me find it right now for you.
Or it's way closer in the line than you think.
Iowa State is favored, actually.
Yeah, it's in Iowa State, right?
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
What Iowa's got going for them is just straight up defense. Like, their defense can stop Oklahoma.
Yeah, and I mean they have a running back that's going to be an NFL player, and their quarterback, I mean, another guy that's probably a fringe NFL player. So it's a good team, and like it's a good pick. And Iowa State kind of fell off the map when they lost a couple of games early. But yeah, they're still a strong team, and they're still a team that's playing for pride.
Well, somebody's got it in that state, because Iowa ain't got it no more.
Yeah.
And Crybaby's walking across the state right now.
Yeah. Well, as far
a lot
as
of sensitive guys in Ottawa. That's all I'm saying. A lot of sensitive people there.
We spent a decent amount of time talking college football on Monday, and we will again, especially if these upsets happen, because we're gonna there's a chance that we have this thing narrowed down to about 8 teams for the playoffs after 8 weeks, which is pretty wild to think. But I'm gonna drop the Super Boost right now. We don't have the official odds yet because Pat's been pretty busy. He's been going through a lot of things, and I think him and his girlfriend just bought a house or something. So we're gonna give him a break. I don't even know if he's got his internet hooked up yet.
Whoa!
But he'll get his. Yeah. Guy's a stud. Just a great human. But we're gonna go ahead and drop the picks, and then we'll put the odds out maybe tonight or tomorrow when we talk to him. So we got the Packers -2.5, the Colts +9.5, and the Bengals and Ravens to go over 41.5 points.
Mm-hmm.
That is
I
not
like
as
that.
much of a stretch as we have been taking. I anticipate this being about like a 3-1 payout, but we're still all over it. It's time for a win, boys. We needed this one.
Sick and tired of donations, right?
Well, just the way that
That's what you call them,
tough,
right? You're just
right?
donating to the company.
The way we've been losing has been tough.
Yeah. The ones we shouldn't be losing are the ones that we're losing. That's the kicker. It's not the game we're
Yeah.
taking the risk on to bump the odds up. It's the big favorite that we shouldn't be losing on.
Yeah, and it's just absolute bullshit. So, I mean, look, as we're talking about needing a win, it's our turn to get a win. But as far as teams for Week 7, give me your pick. Like, this team must get a win in Week 7.
I'm going to have a loose definition of must, okay?
Okay.
Now, the team that I think needs it the most for their organization to get them over the hump, you're going to hate hearing this. I've been tooting their own all year. The Bengals, man, if they can beat the Ravens, that gets them over that hump for that franchise confidence, I think. That does a big number for them in that division. Is it going to be enough? I don't know. But that would be the team. If I'm looking down the board, because there's a lot of good games, but I'm looking at them like, that's when I'm circling. That's when I want to watch. And if the Bengals can do something on TV, because a lot of people are going to watch that game, well, hell, they make a name for themselves, right?
Maybe. Yeah. It's the right pick. I mean, if the Bengals win, they are in a tie for first place 7 weeks into the year. And then, yeah, I mean, the bad memory and the bad taste in your mouth of Andy Dalton starting to get out, and you're starting to move in the right direction. I don't think it puts them over the hump as far as where their organization needs to be, because they still haven't won a playoff game since Boomer Esiason was there. So, well,
It's baby steps, man. Baby steps.
Yeah,
I
we'll
can't think the last time they've been relevant, you know?
yeah, we'll calm down on the next step. But Chad, what do you think?
New Orleans Saints. They have a gift in a Monday night game against a Seattle team without a starting quarterback. If they lose, I don't think they have a chance of keeping up with Tampa Bay. Right now, they're 2 games back. Tampa Bay's got the Bears, so I feel like that's a good game for us.
Mhm.
The Saints have a Seahawks team, so I feel if they drop to 3 games now, I don't think they'll be able to catch us. I think at this point they just got to kind of stay the course and stay close and get a string together a couple wins here. So I think for them it's kind of, and I think it's more or less the game that Jameis has to win. He needs to show like those are games that you should win. And I think that's when he has to step up and take over. I know I'm not a huge Jameis fan. Everybody knows that. We don't lie about it here. But I think just for his career as well, it's a game he has to win because he has to win these games for New Orleans. He's on a 1-year deal. And if you can't win with Sean Payton, like you were a top pick. You've had great years. You've had bad years. You kind of bounced around. You had a great showing last year playing for the one needed. Sean Payton didn't hesitate. They could have went and chased a quarterback. I can guarantee there's a lot of quarterbacks would love to play for Sean Payton. He put his faith in you for 1 year to give you that audition. I think this game is just as valuable for the Saints as it is for him. And he has to start taking over this team. Or his career could be over.
That Saints team is getting much stronger right now. They got 6 guys that came back either off the IAR or who have been injured recently, like Taron Armstead, McCoy, Marcus Davenport, Quan, Ken Crawley. Mike Thomas is right around the corner from coming back. So you're right. They definitely got to win this game to keep up with Tampa, but the reinforcements are coming for them. So they might still be okay. If they got Mike Thomas, man, this offense.
3 games though, 3 games down. That's a lot to make up in the NFL.
It is.
Yeah, so I'm gonna give you 2, and I'm gonna base it basically on what Chad was saying is you can't fall behind. The first one I'm gonna say is the Patriots. They have the Jets. They're coming off a tough loss, but the Bills lost a pretty close one on Monday night, and they're on bye. This is a chance to, right now, you're essentially gaining a whole game, but you can gain a half a game back on them and make it so that, I don't know, down the stretch, you got a little bit of pressure. Mac Jones seems like he's playing better. The defense is playing better. With some of the games that they've given away, they shouldn't be in it. but with a win against the Jets, they can be in it. And down in Indianapolis, they need to keep the pressure on the Titans because honestly, I hope that the Titans beat the Chiefs. I just don't know. Like I wouldn't be betting money on it, but if the Chiefs do, I mean, let's just spreads. If the Chiefs beat the Titans by 4.5 points and the Colts go on the road and beat the 49ers on Sunday Night Football and play well, they're going to get a little bit of momentum. Kind of like it's very similar to the Saints thing that Chad was talking about. But the Colts have enough talent on their roster. T.Y.'s back. We're not going to go ahead and say that they're one of the best teams in the NFL because they beat down the Texans. But they have a chance. And a win here, and naturally a Titans loss is what they would be hoping for. But they'll know that before the game starts, and that'll make the game a little bit more important for them, I think.
Yeah.
I think that Chiefs team too has to win.
Yeah.
And I think your boys down in Tennessee have the recipe to win. I think you can keep Patrick Mahomes off the field. That's the only way you're going to win, and you have the ultimate weapon when it comes to doing that. I don't think 80-yard runs are the task that you need. I think you need to nickel and dime this bitch the whole way down the field. But yeah, I think that Tennessee team has to win. I think more or less they don't have to win, but it's the Chiefs can't afford to lose, and I think that's the one big one.
Right.
And that being said, I love seeing Patrick Mahomes' wife and mom cry on social media. It's pretty fun.
Yeah, when it comes down to it, if A.J. Brown was able to get that open on Buffalo, I think that they'll be able to, without even scheming it, he'll be that open against the Chiefs. So they have a good chance to keep it alive. But Chad's right. The Chiefs probably are a team that needs a win more than most.
And the Patriots, I mean, remember what they did the first game that they played the Jets this year? They absolutely embarrassed them. 4 interceptions with Zach Wilson down there. So have your way with them again, man. Bring something new to the table, some new practice points or whatever, because this is a team you could certainly do it against. I shouldn't be saying that because obviously we lost to them, but
yeah. Hey, everyone gets a bad loss every once in a while. But what do we got here? We got about 4 minutes before the kickoff. All right, so I got one more thing for you guys, and it's going to kind of lead to what Chad was saying about the Saints winning. So I think that we're pretty secure in saying that it's either Arizona or LA is getting the first wild card spot, right? Whoever doesn't win that division has that spot. So that's going to leave us the remaining wild card spots. So 6 and 7. And when I broke it down, these are the teams that look like they were still in the hunt. So I'm going to have you guys pick 2. Saints, Panthers, Vikings, 49ers, Falcons, Bears. So of those teams, what 2 are going to be your favorites to make the playoffs?
Saints and Vikings.
49ers. I was going to say 49ers, Vikings.
Oh, yeah.
I think the Vikings are I wouldn't say a shoe-in. I don't want to curse them. I think they're too to football team for the record to show. Their offense is clicking, as Kaylin said already earlier. Kirk Cousins is on a roll right now.
Right.
Dalvin Cook's one of the best in the game. Offensive line's good. They have a stud receiver out there. 2 of them. And the defense is just doing enough to win. And they have the Bears and the Lions in their division. So I think those are 2 teams that can win. And yeah, I think they can pull it together. They're in for sure. I think the 49ers, I can't count out that defense. And I think that's the whole, I keep coming back to it. They're so beat up last year that I still believe that 2 years ago they were a good football team. And I think they can make it work. I could be wrong, but that's a really good football team to get a really good first round pick again.
Yeah. And I don't know. I feel like, and I said this before, I just think that the Bears are going to sneak their way in there. I think that they're going to be good enough when it comes down to it. I would have reserved that spot for the Panthers, but Panthers seem like they're falling apart. And the team that's going to catch fire at the end here, and it's going to be weird because we thought that there was going to be one division that was representing, and that was the NFC West. We thought they were going to basically sweep it all, and they were going to have all their teams in the playoffs. But I think you're going to see 3 teams from the NFC North. You're gonna see the Vikings and the Bears and the Packers all making the playoffs.
Woof. I got no interest in seeing the Bears in the playoffs, man. There's nothing about that team that excites me for primetime football.
Well, Justin Fields is only gonna get better and better, and defensively they're good, but I don't know. You don't want to see hard defensive football in January.
It's like at this point, it's like watching the Bears that made the Super Bowl the last time.
Hey,
It's just such a boring team to watch, except for once
don't
in
do
a
that
while
to
he's gonna throw a
don't
deep
do that
shot.
to Justin Fields like that.
Yeah.
Do you know he actually leads the NFL in deep shots since he's come in?
That's what I mean. It's just it's such a boring offense, and then he takes these once in a while deep shots like Rex Grossman did.
Once in a while, he's throwing the most in the league.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's a big shot quarterback, and as he gets more comfortable, he's going to make good things happen. Whether they make the playoffs or not is what I don't know. We're week 7. It was pretty much what kind of a question could I ask you guys for the next 4 minutes so that we don't go into overtime and Liam.
Well, hey, listen, if we're at the very end here, there is one thing I want to say completely away from football altogether, but you called something out at the beginning of the baseball season, and buddy, they might do it tonight. Atlanta might make the friggin' World Series, and that's without Acuna. You talk about a team that went through turmoil halfway through the season to get to where they are, that have really done a number on the Dodgers in the playoffs here, man. Good on you making that call in the beginning of the season, and you even kind of stuck with it even after you went down. You did kind of hesitate and say there's probably going to be another team that takes their spot, but you still liked them a lot, so good on you picking the NL player, probably, or NL team, sorry.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I think I had the Braves and the White Sox, right? And the White Sox, I mean, they did me dirty. They're out in the first round, but that's okay. Yeah.
Nobody saw that, though. Nobody thought that was going to happen.
And
Fair.
right now, yeah, if I were to pick a team to win, for rooting interest and for like value and money, like yeah, it's gonna be the Braves.
Yeah, right now it is. If the Red Sox get knocked out tomorrow, that's what I'm cheering for.
But yeah, I also had that feeling last night for the Raptors' first home game in 2 years, and they get blown out. So at that point, we'll decide to sign off. But unless Chad, you have a final thought?
No, I'm good.
You don't want to do any hockey talk?
No, I'm good.
All right, Chad will save his hockey talk for next week. But before we go, make sure you subscribe to YouTube. Check out the Twitch channel. At some point, I mean, he keeps telling us at some point Kaylin's going to start playing Madden on there
I need
against
people to play with. Give me some people to play with.
Can somebody challenge him, please? Just so he can beat him. Check out the Facebook and Instagram. Always make sure you're checking out the website because we're always dropping links on there. The subreddit stuff, whatever. DM Kaylin for that because I don't know anything about any of that
Shane's
stuff.
just getting introduced to the Reddit world, so it's going to be a whole new place for him for the next month or so.
Yeah, I scanned through every single comment and made like my own little snide remark on it and then moved on. But yeah, that was fun for me. So we'll be back on Monday, and we might have a guest on Monday if it all works out, and we'll announce that later on in the weekend. But till then, boys, cheers.